Welcome back to Builders, Makers, Doers. I'm Andy Bassett. He's Cameron Carlo, filling in for Elliot Bassett today. Today's exciting. We have Natasha Broxton with Select Auto Parts and Sales out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And, we chatted in advance of this, and Natasha's running a woman-owned business in the auto recycling world, which there aren't a lot of those. So I imagine as we open up discussion, we'll talk about a lot of successes and probably a lot of challenges that have come along the way. So
let's build off that. All right. Well, let's welcome in Natasha. Natasha, thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So kick us off here. Just give us some background on the business. Tell us, how long you've been in business, how you came into this business, all the background we need to know here.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So I am Natasha Broxton. I'm CEO and founder of Select Auto Parts and Sales. We are Milwaukee's only indoor auto parts recycler. So what that means is I buy cars, we take those cars apart, and we sell those used auto parts. So I partner with repair shops and body shops and everyday drivers, just providing them with the parts that they need to keep those vehicles on the road. I've been in business since 2012. Like I said, we have the only indoor auto parts. My parts are already off the cars and on the shelf. I call it the concierge service of auto parts. My customers love that they can just come in and get their parts and go. They don't have to wait. They're not fighting with the elements to take parts off the cars. We do everything here ourselves. And then I'm shipping parts nationwide. All of my parts are on my websites. You can actually buy parts online. We have an eBay store. So yeah, we're just doing it all here.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And we were talking a little bit before this, and you mentioned Milwaukee's only. I imagine what you're doing is relatively unique or rare across the country as well, right? I mean, I'm not familiar with companies that are actually taking the parts, stocking, investing in real estate and the facilities like you are, so people can come in and actually, see and grab the parts. So, how much is that actually occurring across the country? Or I assume you're pretty unique in that regard.
Yeah, very unique. You might see it more so in the warmer clients. So in this Midwest area, you don't really see that a lot.
Yeah.
With that outdoor auto parts theme that's going on. But yeah, it's very rare. I'm also one of the only woman-owned, Black-owned auto parts recycler in the nation. I don't know if I mentioned that. But yeah, just very unique. There's someone told me that I'm like a unicorn in my industry.
Well, yes, I would imagine for a lot of different reasons. That's 100% accurate. But that's I'm glad you mentioned that, because I know I mentioned it in my intro, but yeah, talk about, the woman-owned, the Black-owned part of things that, I mentioned the woman-owned I would guess, otherwise not a lot of female-owned businesses. But yeah, talk about that. I imagine both have come with challenges, but I'm guessing a lot of opportunity as well. Yeah, just walk the audience through what that's meant for you over time to be a woman-owned, Black-owned business.
Yeah. So intimidation, right? It was intimidating. I can remember when I first opened my doors and we turned the phones on and we first started getting the phone calls from our customers, and just like learning the industry and how it operates. These shop owners and repair people would be frustrated with me, like for not understanding their term that they're using for this type of part. So I just learned to have thick skin over the years, and it's like, okay, look, I'm here to help. You know what I mean? Like, okay, can you spell that out for me? But also embracing that and using that as fuel to just keep learning and keep growing, and not be afraid to answer the questions, right? Or ask the questions, and just having the ability to hire the people with the skills and the expertise. I do everything here in the beginning. I did everything from the sales to the bookkeeping to the marketing, to customer service, checking customers out at the window, everything short of actually dismantling the vehicle. Okay. Mastering the inventory. You have to think that you have to know that with an indoor auto parts, and with parts in general, if I say that I have that part, I need that part, 100% accurate. I need that part 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 100% accurate. I need that to be findable when you come to the door, right?
Sure.
Because that's what we're saying, you know, like your part's going to be ready. So just mastering that inventory and just being able to make changes and grow from mistakes over the years. I hope I answered your question.
No,
Yeah,
that's
great.
fabulous.
So one follow up on that, like, did you have any background in, I mean, auto mechanics or anything prior to taking over the business, or is that something you've kind of had to learn as you went?
Yeah, so I want to say I'm going to say no, okay? But I want to give you a little bit of background to that. So my husband has a tire recycling business. He's been doing that for over 40 years. You know, around the time that a little bit before we started this Select Auto Parts, I left corporate. I used to work in telecommunications with AT&T and at the business office, and we decided that I would stay home with the kids. Well, that actually turned into me actually helping him with his business. Okay.
Yeah.
So tire recycling, he would pick up businesses like mine. Like he has relationships with yards like mine. You know, they're paying him to dispose of his tires, to dispose of their tires. So I was doing all the bookkeeping, the accounting, the human resources, and everything from home for him. And just, we had some used tire stores at the time. So I was managing those and, you know, just doing the behind the scenes operation while he was doing the hands-on. I call it dotting the I's and crossing the T's while he was getting his hands dirty, you know. So I had that experience, you know, from, you know, the business standpoint and the recycling side. But we didn't talk about this, right? Because a lot of people want to know, how did you get into this business? Like how did you go from there to here? And back 14 years ago, someone had reached out to us to clean out this building that I'm in. It's 125,000 square feet. Okay. This building was abandoned. Someone had filled it with junk tires, which is a huge problem around here still. But they contacted us to get this building cleaned out, right? Because they couldn't sell this building. And it's nothing for us to be able to do a tire cleanup like that. That's what we do with the tire recycling business that we have. So we gave them a quote and then we turned around and put an offer in on the building.
Wow.
Okay. So my husband, we get this building and he looks at me and he says, we should turn this into an indoor auto parts. Milwaukee is not allowing any more outdoor auto parts. So when he says something like that, that usually means I have to execute.
I love it.
So here's the part of, okay, no experience, you know, just having to figure it out. Okay, what does it require for me to get a license, right? To be an automotive recycler? What do we need to do with this building for it to get permitted? So I'm researching and I'm doing all of these things to figure it out. Okay, I need to hire somebody that can take these cars apart. You know, so yeah, it was just like that one statement led to 14 years later, and we have this dynasty now.
Well, that's the entrepreneurial side of it. Is you saw an opportunity, thought through it, and actually acted on it. You know, a lot of people come up with an idea or they'll see that and they'll think, wow, we could do this, and they won't do it. So I commend you tremendously for that. So something I want to ask, so you mentioned as you started Select, you mentioned you were doing everything, you know, and you also mentioned at your husband's business, you know, you were doing everything other than the actual physical work that he was mainly doing. So talk about maybe as you transition being, you know, doing the customer service, doing the marketing, doing the books, you know, the inventory, everything short of dismantling the vehicles. Walk through the transition then to when you actually started to bring people in and hire employees and shift, because that's a lot of the audience. They're entrepreneurial. They start by strapping everything on their back and building the business. And then all of a sudden they have a business and they've got to start looking to hire people. Maybe walk through how that transition went for you. So
for me early on, I did hire people early on, but that doesn't mean that I had people like I wasn't delegating, you know, and this is that had been a struggle for me, you know, and I want to say even more recently, like within the last 3 years, for me to be able to step into this CEO mindset of growing the business and not working in the business, you know, but it always wasn't that way because I was the one carrying the knowledge. I was the one that had the expertise. I was the one that had the vision, you know, but once I realized that we could grow more, we can grow faster if I can hire the right people, if I had the right teams, if I'm able to delegate better, right, with clarity, now we could do a lot more. You know what I mean? Or if I can humble myself and take something from my dismantler. You know, what does it mean to make sure that this alternator is working? It has to be able to spin. You know what I mean? So but I'm teaching you also about my organizational side of it. Okay, you dismantle the cars, but I need you to mark those parts so that we know which car that they came off of, you know. But yeah, just being able to recognize that we can grow and scale faster if we can delegate and get the right people in the positions that we need them to be, so that we can move this business forward, you know. And then it's better for everybody. It gives the opportunity for that team member to be able to embrace their position, you know, and to know that they're also bringing something to the table to grow this business. And it's not always about Natasha and what Natasha thinks and what Natasha wants, you know. So it's like a family, like we're all in this together to grow this organization.
I love that. And I want to highlight one thing you said for the, I hope everybody picks this up, but you made the comment of you realized you had to, in order to grow and scale, you had to make the transition to leading people and not just doing the work. And I think that's a real challenge for founders as they try to shift to more of a CEO level mindset, which is, I've been the one doing for so long, and now I need to step back and lead others to do, so that we can grow and scale this business. So I commend you for being able to make that transition, because a lot of owners and founders cannot.
And even just to recognize the transition needs to happen. Like, that's the beginning of everything. She's already moving in that direction.
Yeah, thank you. I completed the Goldman Sachs program last year. And it's like, I don't know if, you know, any of the listeners ever been a part of that program. You cannot do that program if you don't have your systems and your processes in place. So it was like, look, had my 1 foot in and 1 foot out, you know, with being able to, you know, be more hands off. But with that program, it was like, I was forced to do it. Like, you need to stop. Let the people that you hired and trust to be able to do what they need to do while you complete this program, you know. But yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
And you had mentioned, you know, you're not only having to lead people, but and that you guys are like a family, but in many senses, literally you are a family, because you have family members in the business. How does that dynamic change things as a leader of an organization when you have family involved and you're kind of having to wear two hats?
Yeah, so we're family owned and operated business. Right now, I have my daughter who's a college student locally here. She's my salesperson. So she, you know, if you call us today, she's answering the phones. But that's what it looked like over the years. You know, I have 6 kids plus my nephew, so technically I have 7. Because he lives with us also. My oldest son is married, and he has 3 children, so I have 3 grandbabies. And every one of my kids have something to do with this business over the year. Every one of them knows how to answer the phones. They know how to search for the parts. My daughter knows QuickBooks. Okay, we're gonna learn how to enter these receipts in the computer. Okay, help mommy out. But I'm paying them. I'll pay them. My daughter, who's a 9th grader right now in high school, every day that they have, either on the weekends or if they have time off school, she wants to come to work. I need to earn some money, Mom. So I'll let her come in and she'll answer the phones, and she'll have her Roblox on one screen, and she'll have the auto parts inventory on the other screen. Look, and I'm not mad at her because I'm a multitasker too. But look, when that call comes in, she's ready, asking them what the year, make, and model is, what parts do we need to search, and then she'll earn her some little money over the weekend, but it's looked like me being a mom and having my babies here, with a bassinet, right in the middle of the office, while I'm on the phones, and just doing what we got to do to make it work.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. And I think a lot of listeners too, and us included, our business outside of the podcast is a family owned business. And so, I think many people that listen to this are family owned and can relate to a lot of the things you just said. But I love the comment about your daughter, because I can see the 2 screens. One, she's getting like school true level education. The other one, she's getting real world education. And like, I would make an argument, maybe that real world education is paying more dividends in the long run, but that's pretty amazing. But, well, let's talk. So we've talked a little bit about some of the challenges. You've mentioned the family element, a lot of things business or listeners can relate to, but I want to shift a little bit because you've had some awards. You've been recognized by the U.S. Chamber. I was able to watch the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel's report on your business. So you're doing a lot of things to get recognition in your community and nationally. I mean, walk through what that means to you, what that means for the business, how you've gone about being able to get that type of recognition, because I think there's a lot of people that, they're doing cool things out there. They're running awesome businesses and people need to know about this. So maybe walk through, like I said, what it's meant to you and how you were able to kind of get this on the radar.
Yeah. So, just the press recognition and just being visible, period. It actually started with my customers. I want to say, and then probably like that journal write up. I think that was probably one of the first, media attention that I had received. Right. Me, I'm just here working. Right. I'm trying to survive. I'm trying to grow this business. But when it finally clicked, when my customers would come through the door and I'm doing customer service and it'll come up that I own the company. Oh my gosh, you're the owner? Oh, and they'd be so excited just to see that, I'm a woman, I'm a Black woman, I'm right here in their community. And this is, it's almost like this is their business, and so to see like that, like that's a huge deal, for people to see me in this space and me also making this work, doing whatever I can to make it work, to keep these doors open so I can keep serving the people within this community so they don't have to travel so far to go get parts for their vehicles, So that's one part. The other part is just recognizing that this is a huge deal that I'm a Black owned woman owned auto recycler. Like, I didn't think it was a, big deal. Like I said, I'm just trying to work. I'm trying to make sure I can make payroll and, keep these doors open. But, once I started talking about my business, and that's something that I want people to take away. Like, we're so head down focused on payroll, right? Keeping the doors open, that we don't talk about the challenges. We don't talk about the good things, right? That's going on in our business. And that's what has been opening doors up for me once I started doing that. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying being on social media like 5 days a week, but we definitely have to be visible because visibility is credibility. And these partnerships the alignment comes when we are visible with our operations,
Yeah, that's awesome.
Say, that's speaking Cam's world right there.
I'm the marketing guy, and I'm like, yes, relationship. Yeah. You mentioned your community and serving your community. I'm just kind of curious, how much of your business is local versus, I know you do a lot of online things too. How much is local versus shipping stuff out?
Definitely 70%.
70% local?
Yeah, 70% local.
Wow. And is it just, are you dealing in like classic cars? Are you dealing in everything? I mean, what kind of...
Not so much classic cars. I would say like between 10 to 15-year-old vehicles. Some of the, we'll do research to see what parts are selling, what parts have been purchased, the vehicles that have been purchased in my area. So we'll do some market research and try to target those vehicles based on what the needs are, and that's another thing. I had to learn search engine optimization, like when I don't know something and I see a gap, I educate myself and try to figure it out. Okay, what do I need to do to make sure that these calls are coming in? Now I'm flooded with calls. It's like I'm flooded with calls and I don't necessarily have the parts, but I got the data, so now it's like, okay, how can I maximize on all these calls I'm getting because I am on the first page of Google because of all of this work that I did for my search engine optimization. What can we do? We can sell some of the other parts out of, some of my competitors' inventory, and do a markup on those, because the phones are ringing like like left and right around here.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, and I think what people can hear right there is when the activity came, when the customers came, when the calls came in, all of a sudden you've got to shift to, all right, how do we now facilitate? And I love what you said is, I mean, that's thinking outside the box is, look, let's go to our competitors. Let's see if they've got a solution for what my customer needs. You know, we'll figure out how to make a margin or a product, but probably at the foundation of that is I want to create the client customer experience to facilitate what they need, because you realize then that they're going to come back. Exactly. Or they're going to tell others, right? Is that kind of the mindset that?
That's definitely the mindset. And I would notice that when they would call me for a part and I don't have it, I can see who else has it, you know, depending on the type of part it is, you know, and the urgency of the customer, I would just refer them, you know, like, oh, you can go to the South Side and get this. Oh, I don't want, you know, it's like, like, okay, we can go pick it up for you, you know, so just, you know, looking at it that way, like, okay, how can I keep these customers here without, I stopped doing that, you know, because people will be like, I don't want to go over there. All right, so let me just give you this price with this markup and tell you that we'll have it for you tomorrow, you know. But then if it's a part, like you mentioned, those old school vehicles, I don't have a lot of those, but you know, and those cars that are over 20 years old, you know, your only outlet might be eBay, and people are like, they don't necessarily want to order online, like, oh, you know, I don't know what I'm getting, but that's like a sidebar compliment to me because they trust me. You see what I'm saying? I would have been better off saying, okay, I can order it for you, as opposed to sending you, you know, to eBay or, you know, another online source, because you're like, oh, you know, I can see you, I know you, you know, I trust you. I'm willing to pay a little bit more so that you can handle this for me.
Yeah, that's so, man, there's a lot of great stuff in this conversation. I want to connect a couple dots here that I think are accurate, and then I'm going to ask a question on the end of it. So you mentioned, you know, your customers seeing how hard you work, seeing your grind, seeing what you've gone through. And then I also know you mentioned that a lot of your customers are, you do a lot of B2B, meaning your customers are business owners themselves. I assume that some of the loyalty, some of the respect for you comes out of these other business owners seeing how dedicated and hardworking you are. I mean, am I accurate in thinking that that builds a pretty loyal customer base just from a B2B perspective, that like you're there, you're working, you're grinding, you're the face, and they respect the heck out of that, and they're going to come to you for their needs over anybody else for a lot of that reason?
I would definitely agree with that. You know, like my repair shops and my body shops, side note, low key, they are my favorite customer. Okay, they are my preferred customer. Just learn that you can do that. If you are not, if you don't know this already, listeners, that you can have a preferred customer. So my preferred customer is my repair shops and body shops. That doesn't mean I'm not going to sell to everyday drivers, but I take care of my repair shops and my body shops. And I'm explaining to you why. They know what they want. They ready to spend their money. They're not complaining. Okay. They need that part and they need it fast because they have a customer's vehicle in their shop that they need to get up and running and going, you know. So if I have what they need, they're ready to come get it, you know. And so that's why they are my preferred customer. But on the same note, I want to treat them well. So we offer free delivery right here in Milwaukee. You know, I want to make sure that they can keep on working and making money on their end. So I'm going to deliver you this part for free, you know, so that you can keep working. We have a partner program where I'm going to make sure that they get wholesale pricing. So they get better pricing than our regular customers, because I want to keep them coming back. I want to keep them satisfied. And I know that also that they have to, you know, be able to make money to keep their doors open too. So we want to keep our repair shops and our body shops happy, because we want to be their first choice, you know. Not just because I'm Natasha Broxton and I have a nice smile, but you know
what you do.
You know, we make sure that we test all of our parts, and you know, they can trust that and stand behind anything that they're getting from us.
Well, I want to highlight something you said there, because our journey and our business outside of the podcast is very similar. I think this is really important for listeners here, as you use the word preferred client or preferred customer. And in our business, we talk a lot about our target market client. And what I want to highlight here is it's challenging. And I think a lot of business owners, there's a point at which they start to have this realization or reflection, but it's challenging to be everything for everyone.
And it's expensive.
Yeah. Let's say that again.
And it's expensive.
Expensive. Yeah. Right. I mean, in order to be able to continue to grow and be profitable in your business so you can deliver to your customers and clients at the highest level, there are times where you have to realize, all right, who am I best serving? And is that where I want to put the lion's share of my resources? And I think a lot of business owners have a hard time. So like, I want to help everybody, or I want to help my community as much as possible. It's not that we're saying we're not going to do that. You reference that as well. We're still going to figure out how we best solve for those, that client base or that segment of customers. But I think having a realization and a focus on who we best serve, our preferred customer or our target market client, it's really important for business owners to understand that, not be scared to make that distinction.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's not a question. It looks like you have something to add to that, because I think that's important for people to understand.
Yeah. And I that was me, like in the beginning, marketing to everybody. But then when I sat down and actually looked at the data and looked up where we were showing up, where the repair shops and body shops kept popping up, and the marketing to everyone concept is expensive, with trying to get the messaging right and make sure that it lands, but then the message is all over the place, so if we just got this narrowed message that we know that's going to attract that target customer, okay, now I'm actually saving money and actually making money because we're targeting the right person, and the message is landing. So now the revenue is growing, and you'll notice that when you do that, you still attract the other, right? The other group, they're still coming through that funnel. They're still, we're getting phone calls, every day, but my target and my focus is my repair shops and body shops. But that doesn't stop my everyday drivers. If I got this part and you're Googling, your year, make, and model, and the part that you're looking for, I'm going to show up, and you're probably not a repair shop and body shop. It's just that I have what you need, and my website is set up in a way where it's search engine optimized. So I showed up for you.
Right. And I mean, you've mentioned SEO now a couple of times, and I think about, kind of where you were at the beginning of your journey. And you've mentioned you were in the Goldman Sachs training. You've mentioned you've learned from the technicians you've hired. You're learning stuff on your own. What does, either bringing in an outside voice or having a coach or learning on your own, how have you dedicated yourself to educating yourself to make yourself a better business owner? Because clearly you have, and it's really impressive.
Thank you. I call myself a lifelong learner. I'm always learning. I'm always growing. I completed the program, a business development program that's supposed to be like the business development program of all programs, but I'm still out here looking for ways to be a better leader, right? So that I can show up for my team. I'm not an expert in video creation, so I'm looking at that. AI is huge right now. Anything and everything that has to do with AI, I'm learning it because I want to be able to make sure that my business is growing. It's on with the times, and like I'm just like never in a comfortable space, to be like, oh, I know everything and you can't tell me anything. That's just not the type of person that I am, but it's also put me in a position where now I just have so much knowledge, right? And I do have so much expertise, and I'm taking that knowledge and my expertise that I was forced to get in order to grow this business, and I'm helping other businesses, right? So that you don't have to make the same mistakes that I made. I've started a consultant organization brand called Ellerbrock Group. And I'm helping assisting yards like mine to modernize and use AI in their organizations. Like I use AI for pricing vehicles, so that everyone on my team, like literally, if you don't have any parts buying experience, any car buying experience, because of the tools that I put in place, you'll be able to come in and bid on a car. You know what I mean? And that's like job creation. You don't have any experience in this automotive industry, but because of the tools and the systems that I place, it's like it's not limited to just someone with 20 and 30 years experience anymore.
That's a really interesting perspective, because I think we use the term lifelong learner regularly around here, and AI. I mean, if you're not a learner and you're not learning at a really, really fast pace right now. I mean, AI is moving so quick. We all know. And, our team is dedicating a ton of time, specific individuals for sure, on doing all sorts of research, and we're implementing that at a really quick level in our operating business. But what you just said is quite interesting, because I think people, when it comes to the trades, the broader trades business, whether it's in your business or construction, manufacturing, distribution, obviously, people I think wonder, well, how is, where does AI even fit in? AI can't, turn a wrench. AI can't do this or whatever. But I think you just really highlighted where it's like, we can take people that maybe don't have haven't been through the training that we're typically used to be able to step into these types of roles and speed that up. Give them tools and resources to bring their learning along at a much faster pace, so that they're ready to roll into whatever it is we need them to at a much quicker time frame. So really, really interesting perspective there.
Thank you.
Yeah. I guess before we wrap up, we always ask this one question, and I want to make sure I ask you: is there a particular, not necessarily a project, but a moment where you've been able to help someone that maybe sticks out more than anything else, whether it's a part you were able to deliver that no one else could, or anything? Usually we're asking this to people who work on big projects, like construction projects and stuff, but I'm sure there's some rewarding moments in your career since you've been doing this.
Man, that's going to be hard. Because like around here, that happens every day, with people not, like coming across hard to find parts. And I'm the one that, that has the part. Yeah. Can you answer the question again? I'm sorry.
Well, I think you just referenced it. It's happening every day, and there's maybe not one singular moment that sticks out, because it's constant. And I think what we're hearing is what satisfies you or what drives you is you get these unique situations where somebody's looking for something that's specialized or unique, and you're able to deliver on it. And that's pretty cool. So, and I guess that would be summary. Am I summarizing that accurately?
That is correct.
So, all right. So maybe before we do wrap, we're at 32 minutes. We'll do a few more, but we talked a little bit about AI. You've talked about growth and scale, and you stepping into the CEO role versus, the doer role from the past. Maybe just looking forward, what do the next, call it 5-10 years for the business look like? Anything unique, crazy on the horizon? Is it just business as is, or I don't know, what's that look like?
Oh, I'm glad you asked this question. Just continuing to modernize my operation, and implementing AI in every way that I possibly can. I'm looking at voice AI to be able to answer the phones right now. We already implemented a portion of that. My next phase of that would be to be able to respond to part requests quicker using AI. I'm building a custom tool right now for that. And going around the country to modernize all of these auto recycling facilities, with our price tools that we're using to be able to optimize our parts that we're listing online so that they can show up and we can be able to sell more parts more efficiently. So yeah, just taking the auto recycling industry to the next level with AI. That's what I'm on right now.
I love that, because we talk all the time about, and again, in our operating business, we talk about the stakeholders. And one of the things we talk about is obviously our team, our employees, our clients, our communities, but we even talk about the industry that we serve and we're in. And what you just said there is the things you're doing in your business to grow and scale. You're not scared to go out and help other people, other businesses in your industry use the same tools to ultimately make the entire industry better, which is better for consumers, better for, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the United States. So that's really cool. And I think, that and the consulting side of it that you've spun out of that, good opportunity, obviously, for you and your family. But at the end of the day, you're making a difference across an entire industry. And that's really cool.
Yeah. Like I made the decision and the mindset. And I mean, this come from just grit and grind, like having a struggle, like, okay, AI came on the scene. I'm like, oh my goodness, like, the weight just lifted. But when I find an issue or a problem in my business, I'm using AI to solve that problem. You know what I mean? Like, okay, how can I do this a lot faster? How can I get this more accurate? What tool do I need to have access to, or that I need to build so that I can show up and be able to assist my customers more efficiently?
Oh, that's amazing. Well, we told you it goes quick. We're already at 35 minutes.
One last question though, before we wrap up. We like to ask this, what advice do you have to someone looking to maybe start a business or to move into or acquiring a business that you maybe experienced from early on? I mean, you saw an opportunity, you took a risk, and you built something great here. So what advice would you have to the next generation trying to do the same thing?
The advice that I would give to the next generation is to be in community with other business owners, with other like-minded people. Reach out to some of the local business development. Usually have a lot of nonprofits. There's a few of them here that I'm in partnerships with. Once I started doing that and stopped trying to run everything and learn everything on my own, that's when doors started opening, and partnerships started to build. And, my name started coming up in places that I don't even know. Like last year, I won the Black Excellence Award. Someone had to nominate me for that. And, and you never know, like, a lot of the awards that I've gotten and these opportunities I've received is because of my visibility. So just showing up, being visible, networking, update your LinkedIn. Okay. I want you to be on LinkedIn and, making sure that you're showing up there with your thought leadership. Man, I have so many good nuggets for our new business owners. But yeah, if we were just to narrow it down to one, is to don't be in this space alone, thinking you have to figure it out on your own, and then, hey, reach out to me. I'm Natasha Broxton. You can find me on LinkedIn. But yeah, I'm always, I just light up when I talk to another business owner, and I can, help in any type of way.
I love it. Well, we'll make it easy for people to find you when we
link in the comments.
Yeah, there'll be all sorts of links to everything. But this was fascinating. Really appreciate it. What you've done is incredible. I told you before we started recording that I loved your glasses, and your glasses are reflective of who you are for sure. Because
Thank you.
Big, bold, powerful are things I would describe, because you've done some incredible stuff, and commend you for that. Really enjoyed this. I love your forward thinking. I love the AI approach. And you know what, as things continue to develop, there's probably a pretty good chance we may try to get you back on and figure out, how AI has changed the landscape in your business in the coming years or months. But at that, I suppose we'll wrap up, and thanks a ton for being on. That was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thank you. So glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thanks so much.